Today we're talking about the costs and benefits of solar power, and I want to ask you if you could give us a little bit of an overview of the benefits of solar energy, particularly in terms of cost savings and environmental impact.
I think on a basic level, right, these systems make electricity. So in all cases, what we're trying to do is help the end user, be it homeowner or business owner, save money on their utility bills, on their electric usage. So um, certainly they're going to be able to do that by creating that electricity and being able to offset their uses. It's just a matter of how each individual site works. Um, but essentially, there's also that's the bottom line, right? Is saving money, and then there's also the environmental impact of allowing folks to offset their carbon footprint and make an impact. Some folks are more motivated by that environmental factor than others are. I know for our family, when we went solar, we were just interested in the technology and the environmental impact more so than the savings, being that we didn't have much of an electric bill and that wasn't hurting us. We just thought it was the right thing to do. But for most folks, right, it's the bottom line is a major player. And in all cases that the site is viable, which is typically when folks are saying, I have sun on my property, and how can I harness the sun to save some money? It's a no brainer, right? So yeah, I think that there's an obvious benefit there for folks to take advantage of that.
Has the Inflation Reduction Act of 2022 had any impact on the cost of solar?
Yeah, it's been dramatic. In fact, the federal tax credit, which was set back in I think it was the mid 2000s when it began at 30% of a credit on the gross cost of the system that helps offset that investment. Obviously, that was declining in recent years, and then through the prior, I think it was the Obama administration extended it. I believe it might have got extended twice at that time, and then but it had a decline. So it went from 30 to 26 to 22, and it was slated to go away. And then it was brought back through the IRA to the full 30%, which is a game changer, right? It's a game changer for anyone that's looking to invest in solar, and also the industry as a whole, to allow us to keep driving along and helping folks to save money and make a dramatic environmental impact. There are several other pieces, like it's a pretty deep piece of legislation. There's some additional adders that primarily commercial projects can take advantage of, with domestic content, prevailing wage labor, and then also looking at other energy efficiency pieces that supplement or work nicely with solar. So it's in all, I would say it's a massive piece of what's going to continue to drive the technology to help us move away from conventional fuels and fossil fuels, and make a real difference for our country and give us some energy independence and security.
Yeah, so when it comes to installing solar panels, obviously there's a cost associated with that, Brian. What are some of the factors that people should consider when they're considering installing solar panels when it comes to installation costs?
I think primarily, to Spencer's point that he just made, is that there was kind of a line there where solar was becoming more expensive due to the reduction in the investment tax credit, income tax credit, as well as we're seeing the Fed continually increase rates to try to control that inflation as well. So the dollar's not going as far as it once did. So I think one thing is, can folks take advantage of that income tax credit? Right, that's a huge piece. It's going to pay for almost a third of the cost of the system alone, and have a faster return for that investment. And so most folks that are paying taxes are going to be able to take advantage of that, and but they want to talk to their tax professional and make sure that their tax liability lines up with what that tax credit's going to be, and they can leverage it as much as possible that first year, because you can carry it over for subsequent years, which is a huge piece as well. And then some other pieces is the age and condition of your roof needs to be considered. There are potentially some some benefits in going solar for investing in a new roof with the income tax credit as well. And that's, again, something that you need to consult your tax professional with, but there's some additional benefits there, and why, if the system's going to last for the next 40 plus years, let's kind of set it and forget it and not have to worry about the roof. And their current electrical system is something else that we want to look at. And that's, generally speaking, a non-issue, but as code continues to change, especially, here in Massachusetts tends to be on the forefront of adopting the newest and latest and greatest code. So those are all things that we take care of on every project, and are going to help guide the customer through that. But we want to make sure that their investment is protected. So those are a couple of pieces I think that they would initially want to look at. And then, we're going to be there to guide customers through the educational piece, the latest and greatest on incentives, technology, and how the system's going to work for them.
So Spencer, you alluded to this a little bit as well, in terms of the solar panels and their longevity and durability. That would play a factor in the cost of solar as well. If a panel only lasts 25 years versus 40 years, that's going to make a huge difference. Talk a little bit about Maxeon solar panels in particular, and a little bit about their longevity, durability, and the maintenance maybe required to keep them working properly over the lifespan of the panels, and what that means in terms of overall cost.
Yeah, absolutely. So without going too terribly deep into it, I'll highlight sort of our technological advantage and differentiation. So Maxeon makes the highest efficiency modules on the market, and that just means we convert the largest percentage of sunlight hitting the panel into energy that can be used in the home. We do that by way of our proprietary cell technology. It's called IBC, or interdigitated back contact. And the simple way to think about that is it's a cell that uses the highest grade silicon available. And instead of having the conductive elements, which are called bus bars, on the front of the cell in sort of a grid, we actually put a structural copper plate on the back of the cell. And then instead of having just a few thin connections between each cell, we have a solid connection that runs the length of the cell. It has redundant, energy connections, and then it's got a strain relief built in. So that allows the panels to just be more durable and to react better to sort of, weather and geographical sort of factors. So it builds in their ability to flex and extend when it gets hotter during the day, colder during the night, stuff like that. So very high efficiency panel, very durable and reliable. And because we've been doing this for so long, so Maxeon, and SunPower have been in business for over 37 years. We've produced over 50 million modules. We've got a lot of empirical data to show us that the performance of our modules is really superior to what you typically find on the market. They're extremely reliable. They produce a lot of energy every year for the life of the system. And because of that, we're able to wrap them in a 40-year warranty, which is the longest warranty in the industry. We actually warranted them to work at over 88% of their day one capacity in year 40. And that is, I don't know of any other product in the world that is warranted to perform like that in year 40. So the industry standard is 25 now. It didn't always used to be that way, but it is 25 years now. And we're offering the only 40-year warranty. A lot of panel manufacturers will talk about a 28 or 30-year useful life, whereas ours is clearly in excess of 40 with that robust warranty.
Can you talk a little bit more about Maxeon solar panels and how they're contributing to reducing carbon emissions and promoting sustainability?
So first of all, I'll just say that Maxeon or any other manufacturer, if you are a homeowner who goes solar, you've done a good thing for the environment. You are generating your own clean power from the sunlight that I mentioned earlier that pours off, onto your roof and lawn every day that was previously going unused. So all solar is good for the environment. That said, some manufacturers are more focused on their environmental impact than others, and we may be, by some measure certainly, the most focused on ESG or our environmental impact of any manufacturer in the space. We were actually just named one of the 100 most sustainable companies in the world by a group called Corporate Knights, which was a great honor. And, just a couple of little anecdotes about sort of why we got that distinction. All of the modules that are sold into the United States are built in a factory in Mexico. That factory was actually the first certified net zero factory in Mexico of any kind. We've worked very hard to reduce our energy use and offset it with generating our own clean power at that factory. The other thing to mention is solar panels typically take about 2 years to generate the energy that it took to manufacture them. So every panel has to be made in a factory. Factories need energy to run. So every panel comes at a cost, however small, to actually produce it, right? And so most panels take 2 years to produce enough energy to offset what it took for them to be produced. Our panels do that same thing in a little bit less than half that amount of time, so just under a year. And again, that's through efforts to reduce our energy use at the factories, as well as our advantage in efficiency, so creating more energy from the same footprint as any other module on the market.